let's talk about technical project setup. This is the part where most people get so flustered and frustrated, but I'm gonna help you out. So when you're creating a website, there are four parts to your website. Number one, you have your domain name, which is registered somewhere. So in our case, onpurposeprojects.com. And then you have your hosting, your web hosting, which may or may not be the same place as where your domain is registered. So for example, most people, when they buy a domain name, they will buy it through GoDaddy. And so GoDaddy will register your domain name. But right now, all that means is you have a domain name, but it doesn't mean that it's actually doing anything. So you may have bought 10 versions of your domain name. It may be mywebsite.com, mywebsite.ca, mywebsite.org. You get the idea. So to make that domain, to put a website on that domain, you need hosting. And hosting is essentially the place where all your website files are stored. All the information required to make your website show up needs to be hosted somewhere, needs to be placed somewhere. And that's called your website host, your web host. A web host could be GoDaddy, it could be Bluehost, it could be NetFirms, it could be any number of places. So in looking at your site, one, you probably have a domain registered somewhere. So making sure you know where that is. If you don't know, figure it out. Where did you buy the domain name from? Number two, web hosting. If you already have web hosting, like who is the company that's hosting all these files for you? It's not uncommon for someone to buy it from GoDaddy and have the site hosted somewhere else. So now we have two companies involved. So if you have so number one, server hosting DNS. So number one, looking at your hosting are you happy with your web host? That's another important question. Are they slow? Is their customer service good? Is their server down? Is your website, is there a website security plan in place to protect your website? Most people are like, yeah, my host is okay. But if you feel like, oh, my web host is driving me crazy, I'm not happy, there's problems with my email, my site got hacked, their customer service is only open 9 to 5, I can't really get a hold of anyone, you may need a new web host. If you do, we'd be happy to consult and see what your needs are and give you a recommendation of a different place. Again, just email me onpurposeprojects.com, info@onpurposeprojects.com. So B, we talked about the website domain. We've talked about that. A vanity email address. If you want an email address that's like info@onpurposeprojects.com, you have your domain name plus an email address. Do you want that set up? If so, how many email addresses? Let's say you've got 10 people on your team and they all want their own email address. So thinking that through. Whether or not you want help with that setup, making sure you put that in, because that is something that you will need a developer for to help get that all done and working and integrated. So that can be a whole other thing in itself. Email marketing. Does your website currently integrate with ActiveCampaigns, Aweber, MailChimp, Salesforce? There could be countless options for who are you using to send out newsletters or a syndicated blog posts or whatever it is. So figuring out who that is, making sure you get all your login informations for all of these. Until you hire someone, no one will need this information. So if they ask for it, you don't have to give it to them. But just making sure you have it and you've tested it and it all works. Because it's so irritating when we have a prospective client send us the information, they want us to check something on their site, and it doesn't work. And then we're going back and forth and back and forth. So you make sure that you have everything working, login information for all these different things. Letter E, functional specifications. So as much as what you want your website to look like, a huge part of a successful website is what do you need it to do? So do you need your website to integrate with any kind of contact management software? Does it have to integrate with any third-party tools? Do you need e-commerce? Do you need LMS, like learning management systems? Do you need it to integrate with any social media feeds? Like really think through the entire what to do portion of your website and start to research how is that done. Let's say you need some accessibility features. Whatever, you want a gallery, you want all these different things. So a portfolio, like you want people to upload stuff, create users. So make sure all of that goes into E. And then F, do you have a preferred way in like you'd like your website built? Some people want WordPress, Shopify, Wix, Weebly, HTML. They might want Drupal. They might want something totally different. So if you have a preference, write that in there. If you don't, no worries. They will help explain it to you. So to summarize, you have your domain name that is registered somewhere. You will need hosting if you don't have it already. You will need to decide on what type of website, so WordPress, Wix, Weebly, Drupal, whatever you want to do. And then as we're getting into it, then you will need all your information that will go into the tool you use to build your website, which will be hosted on a server, which will be linked to your domain name. So, all right, good job. You're doing awesome. Let's go to the next step.